The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem. Joining me to discuss BTC price and other Bitcoin news is our Week in Review panel. We've got CoinDesk Managing Editor of Technology, Christie Harkin in Toronto, and Managing Editor of Markets, Brad Keoun in Austin. Hello there, Brad and Christie. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
All right. So, Brad, we always start off with you in the market. So we're seeing BTC outperform ETH after the Ethereum merge, just a huge accomplishment. So why are we seeing this divergence?
Well, you know, we've talked in the past couple of weeks about the divergence that we've seen in Bitcoin and Ether ahead of the merge. You know, Bitcoin's still very much trading as a macro asset, as it has been all year and last year, and trading very much in sync with stocks. And the big story there was the inflation report this morning that strengthened conviction that the Federal Reserve is just going to have to stay super hawkish. And then, you know, Ether had been trading for the past month and a half or so in anticipation of the merge. And, you know, as well, not on this show, but really, you know, in our coverage of crypto markets, you know, traders have been playing the Ethereum merge in all sorts of ways. And, you know, here over the past day and a half, and you know, it was seen as kind of a bullish. You know, obviously there was the Ethereum merge. Getting through that is very bullish for Ether. And, you know, the price had gone up ahead of that. And like a lot of times when the thing actually happens, people unwind their trades and the thing sells off. So that's what we've seen with Ether, just bloodbath in Ether over the past couple of days after the merge finished, even though it went like, you know, almost seamlessly. And Bitcoin, you know, has had a really bad week. I mean, it's down like 10%, but Ether's down like 20%, so it's been even worse.
I thought one of the things that might be putting pressure on ETH is SEC Chair Gary Gensler's comments that, you know, there are proof-of-stake cryptocurrencies that could be securities if they offer a yield. So, you know, perhaps indirectly alluding to Ethereum, although he never names any cryptocurrency specifically, but it could have been something that added uncertainty to Ethereum. Nevertheless, the big story, of course, was inflation, and that's just bringing all the crypto markets down. Maybe you could give us, you know, what's the final impact of that heading into the FOMC meeting next week?
Well, you know, I mean, the inflation is you know, it's like a whack-a-mole for the Federal Reserve. You know, one thing, this past month we had gasoline prices come down, airfare prices come down as kind of the summer travel season passed, and of course Biden released some oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and you know, but then all of a sudden we had food prices popping up, and shelter prices are up, and maybe even wages and things that the Federal Reserve does not like to see shooting up. And so, you know, that just strengthened the belief among traders that the Federal Reserve is just, you know, they're going to have to do a lot more than they're currently doing, or maybe had been anticipated to bring down the inflation rate, and, you know, potentially inflict severe pain on the economy and jam up the unemployment rate in order to get to cool off the economy and bring the inflation down. And so that's kind of what we're seeing. Nobody's talking about 50 basis points at the Fed meeting next week. It's either 75 basis points or maybe even 100 basis points. So that's kind of, you know, we're seeing the price reaction this week.
Yeah, definitely will bring some downward pressure on the markets. Meanwhile, looking at the Ethereum merge in particular, as far as the crypto industry goes, what do you think the ultimate, if any, ramifications of the merge might have for Bitcoin?
Well, you know, I mean, obviously the big, you know, the big change here is Ethereum is moving towards a very environmentally, you know, energy efficient system. You know, there's various criticisms. It's now more oriented towards capital and the haves and the rich, and But, look, that's like a pretty big deal. The world, a lot of people in the world are worried about climate change. And, Bitcoin, there's all sorts of narratives that the Bitcoin community puts out about it. But at the end of the day, it consumes a huge amount of energy. And a lot of that is powered by fossil fuels, or, takes up renewables and that might be used elsewhere. So that's going to be a hard one for Bitcoin to counter. That's a big theme among a lot of institutional investors, even though there's a pushback against ESG investing by a lot of quarters and politicians and whatnot. But that's going to be one to watch over the next year or so.
Yeah. Some serious questions about the proof of work, the value of proof of work versus proof of stake going forward. If Ethereum continues to be successful in its proof of stake transition. All right, moving on. Another topic that a lot of the Bitcoin community has been focused on is the Hodlonaut case against Craig Wright, who everyone famously or infamously knows claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto. So Christie, CoinDesk, or this trial is wrapping up a week of testimony, and the excellent reporting by CoinDesk's Cheyenne Lingon has been on the website all week long. She's on the ground in Norway. Maybe you can give us some of the key takeaways from the trial.
Well, one of the things that has been, I think, a key takeaway for us that we haven't really had a chance to explore too much in the articles is the style of the defense and in the trial compared to Craig Wright. Well, when you compare the two lawyer styles, one is Craig's lawyers are very engaging, they are very relaxed, and they're kind of joking around with the judge, and she seems to have been up to this point eating it up, which was initially a little bit alarming, because on the other hand, Hodlonaut's lawyers have been fairly dry, straightforward, kind of muttering, reading off of tablets, and not really. There's really, really good information. We were a little concerned that maybe a lot of that really good information wasn't coming across and being absorbed by the judge, who really needs to understand some very, very crucial testimony. And some of the stuff that Craig Wright's lawyers have been saying have not been particularly attacked by the lawyers. So there was a little bit of concern as we were watching it that maybe the key points aren't being underscored quite enough. Now, today, things took a little bit of a turn in terms of attitude. There was a report commissioned by Hodlonaut by KPMG that got into the technicalities, like really into the weeds of whether or not documents had been falsified, or whether or not they could have occurred at a certain point in time at a certain computer using particular fonts, and it really got in the weeds. But the good thing is, it seems as if this time the judge was actually a little more involved in it and understanding what exactly Hodlonaut's lawyers were trying to present. So that was a good thing. That was an interesting thing, shall we say, to watch come out of today's testimony. And there will be an article describing some of that later today. Next week, there will be more testimony. It's scheduled to wrap up on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. It may get extended. It did get extended in the last case of Kleiman versus Wright. So if they get an extension to present more evidence, it may go longer than Wednesday, but we may see it in by Wednesday.
Excellent. The reporting has been great. Really will be interesting. As I understand, this KPMG report is new evidence on the fraud allegations that are claimed against Craig Wright. And as for the lawyers, from what I understand, Craig's team is a powerful legal team of 9 lawyers versus 2 lawyers for Hodlonaut. So there's certainly this David and Goliath dynamic in the courtroom.
There is,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to see a little more fight on the David side.